This is episode 149 of the Double Cross Anime Podcast. I'm Whooper, and here's Mario.
Hey everyone, I'm back. We
Yes,
back.
back from France.
Yeah, that's
Mario
right.
is. It's been a while since we've done an episode of Double Cross Anime,
Yep.
and we decided instead of jumping right back into seasonal anime with a mid-season report or anything like that, don't want to do that. That's too much work. So instead, we're just going to sample the first episode of 10 series from 1994. It's going to be one of our time capsule episodes, flashback
Mhm.
episodes, retro episodes, whatever you want to call it. We've got 10 of them. We're going to do them in alphabetical order.
Yep,
Um,
that's right.
any thoughts before we kick it off?
Yeah, two things. 1994 is like one of the year that we have to, search through the list in order to pick the 10 show that we want to watch. So it's not a lot of option in there.
Yeah.
And the second thing I just say is that there is a clear difference in quality between the OVA and the normal series. The OVA just looks so great,
Yeah,
and
that's
the series just looks shit.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's kind of how I feel whenever I compare feature films versus TV anime
Yeah,
that
that's
are
right.
produced today, with some exceptions. Like you got something look like Mob Psycho 100,
Yep,
um, which can stand up to a feature film. But in
yep,
in general, uh, especially since we look at a whole bunch of different seasonal anime every single season, not only for this podcast but for the website that we write for, where we watch many, many more than we end up discussing here. We see a lot of stinkers, you know.
yep,
Um, and then you go watch the latest Mamoru Hosoda film or what have you,
yep.
and you're like, wow, this is how anime is supposed to look.
Yeah,
this
that's
is
right.
this is what somebody who takes a lot of time with their production and has the funding and the schedule and the talent to back up their vision. That's what anime should look like, and instead we have everything else.
Yep. So there is a section of the rules though. There is one OVA that look really bad. So we will get to that.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I didn't think it looked terrible. I think it was just very well. Yeah, well, as you say, we'll get there.
Yeah, we get that. We get that.
So we selected 10 shows, and the I think the only one that well, maybe there were multiple that we left out that I was surprised that we didn't pick.
All right, which one was that?
Mobile Fighter G Gundam.
Right. Yep.
That's one of the biggest shows of '94. We didn't end up selecting that, but we do have another mecha series in its place.
Yep. Yep.
Macross 7 is another mecha series.
Hmm.
But we have, as I say, another mecha series in its place. And I don't know. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, one of the divisive show that you told me before that you said like everyone should watch it.
One of the what shows?
Divisive. That one CG. I don't remember the name on top of my head at the moment.
A CG anime series from '94.
Yeah, well, you said that like part of that it was CGs. It's the OVA. Yeah, the name will come to me soon, but yeah. Oh, Genocyber.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think Genocyber is more like filmic than anything that we
Right,
watched, apart
right.
from maybe Macross Plus.
Yep.
Yeah, but Genocyber needs its own episode. I don't think you can compare
Really?
it to anything else.
Well, right.
If you ever see it, I think you'll probably see what I mean. But yeah, we
Yep.
got 10 shows.
Yep.
I guess we should get started with the first one.
Yep. So we do it alphabetically as well.
Yep.
And we start the first one with Akazukin Chacha.
Right. Which I think means like Little Red Riding Hood.
Yep. Yep.
Red Riding
Yep.
Hood Cha Cha. Okay. Yeah. Akazukin meaning Red Hood.
I watched this show back to back to Mahoujin Guru
Oh boy, that must have been
and and Sailor Moon S, and I just feel like those series just kind of like replace one another
y-
because it is kind of run on a similar plot,
yeah. It's kind of like deja
especially the
vu.
first two. Yeah, that's right. So
Well,
we have
especially
another.
Akazukin Chacha and Sailor Moon S. Um,
Yep,
Mahojin Guru Guru is more like comedy oriented, I guess.
yep, yep.
But in both Akazukin Chacha and Sailor Moon S, there are cuts to the dark world where like the demon lord is
Mm,
scheming to defeat you know the users of light magic, and they have like a little pawn that they send out into the world to like pull the strings so that they can defeat
yeah,
um,
I
the protagonist. And it's a very similar setup.
yeah, but Akazukin Chacha is more lighthearted as well. So I think it's more like for kids. Like I think the main target audience is for kids, you know,
um
or at least
yeah,
play like that.
yeah, I suppose so. Sailor Moon S was definitely for, or Sailor Moon just in general was definitely for young girls, but Sailor Moon S is when Ikuhara had taken over,
Yep,
uh, directing the franchise. So things got a little bit darker,
yep,
as we see in that first episode. But as for Akazukin Cha-Cha, yeah, it's very silly, and
yep.
it kind of has that boilerplate Maho Shoujo premise: defeat the demon lord, and
Hmm.
you got to transform. There's a transformation scene which is kicked off with the help of a magical accessory,
Yep,
um, which of course would be sold in stores, and that's why there's so much like the camera lingers on it, because you gotta get the kids' attention so that they can be like, oh yes, it's got to stick in their brain. So when they go visit the store with mom later, they're like, Mom, can I please have the Akazukin Cha Cha
yep,
magical whatever?
yep,
Um,
yep.
but I
And
mean, that's fine.
yep.
Kids need stuff to watch on TV too.
And see the kind of the protagonist that we always have, like the kind of earnest, but a bit, you know, when she do the magic trick, she always, like get it wrong.
Yeah, she's
So a
clumsy.
bit ahead, yep,
Yeah,
as well.
same. It's same with Sailor Moon.
Yep, and
So
same with the girl from Guru Guru.
right. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Huh. Yeah, it is. It is kind of predictable. Cha Cha being clumsy, the boys fighting over her nonstop as well. That's definitely a
Yep.
major anime trope. Is
Yep.
two people of the same gender fighting over somebody of the opposite gender.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, like you have Urusei Yatsura, which is multiple women fighting over the main boy.
Yep.
And then, so in a Maho Shoujo series, you would have multiple guys fighting over the same girl. Because if it's targeted at girls, then that would be the fantasy, I guess. Is, oh, there's two cute boys. How do I choose?
Yep.
Um, but there, in addition to it being kind of predictable in that way, there are also some fun gags in this episode. Like I especially liked the mirror. Not only
Hmm.
did the
Hmm.
mirror talk, it also walked on its legs. Those two massive legs that kind of help it stand up. It was walking around on those. And the
Yep.
first time it did it, I was taken by surprise, and I kind of chuckled at that because it was
Yep.
dodge like Dorothy the witch,
Yep.
that redheaded witch. She goes to hit it, based on my memory of the episode, and it just like dodges by backing up on its legs. And
Yep.
then throughout the episode, when you see it, it uses the same legs to like walk around or turn to view the action from a different angle.
Yep.
So I thought that was pretty creative.
Yep. Yep. I like some of the humor in here. Like it easy humor, but yeah, I just don't mind that. But do you find one of the characters, the voice acting was really bad, off-putting?
Um,
I
I
did.
don't I don't really remember. I mean, just in general, I don't think voice acting. was great
Right.
around this
That
time. Most of the best voice actors were probably attracted to the the best projects.
yeah.
Um,
That
so
was that was one of the boy actually. That I mentioned the one who can transfer into the wolf.
right, that would be who uh,
Ria.
Ria is the one who can
Yep.
turn into the wolf.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the one.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't even really remember like Japanese voice acting. It's not my native language. I can't really give a great assessment of whether
Yeah.
someone's performing well or not. But you can tell when it's someone who's got a little bit less experience or is more amateur. But sometimes I actually can appreciate that because a lot of Japanese, like most of the anime that I've seen, has been produced within the past 20 or so years.
Mm,
So this would fall outside of that. And during that time, like that modern period, a lot of voice acting is like really polished and kind of very theatrical, not in the sense of it being like made for movies, but in the sense of theatrical as in outsized and kind of over the top.
yep.
Um, and that gets a little bit tiresome after a while, hearing, you know, all the men and women in the sound booth doing the same, like really uh, making sure that all their inflections have as much like energy and emotion packed into
Mm,
them as possible. That kind of gets a little boring and samey.
yep.
So every once in a while, I'll hear a performance that's more naturalistic, or even a performance that's really not very good, and I'll be like, okay, this is all right by me. Like, at least this
Yep.
person is not, over enunciating every single syllable.
Yep. I understand what you mean.
Yeah, that's
And
yeah,
it can get tiresome, like listen to them overacting.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm sure that this guy was not very good. I don't have any trouble imagining that
Yeah.
that was the case.
He's so bland for me. But
Well, he can turn
well,
into a dog, so that kind of makes up for it, right? He's like two characters in one.
yep. Yep. Uh, I found the whole experience is like easy to watch, but it doesn't really resist anything to me. The whole plot, the whole characters.
Yeah, I don't think it's really. I mean, obviously there is going to be an overarching plot because you got the demon lord, dark emperor guy,
Hmm.
who's going to be the main antagonist, and he's going to send multiple bad guys, multiple pawns after the main characters, and they're going to have to they're going to have to defeat them probably by accident half the time, and
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
there's going to be a plot, but it doesn't seem like it's going to offer much. Yeah,
Yep.
at least
Yep.
not based on this first episode.
That's right. So how did you rank it?
Sixth.
I think it's 7.
Yeah, even a silly little Maho shoujo with barely any plot is going to be sufficient to come out on top of some of these some of these series.
All right, the next one gonna be interesting. Let's see. The next one is Iria Zeiram, the animation,
Yeah, OVA series.
the OVA series. So yeah, I was mentioning about how the OVA's quality look, like a so much different from the seasonal anime, and this is one of them. Like it took me by surprise just how well polished that is.
Yeah, it's true. Um, but even putting aside how much better the animation was than a lot of TV anime from this period, I think the most striking thing about Iria Zeiram is like the world design
Yep, yep, I agree.
because it's
Yep.
set in the far future, and there's all these weird buildings that are kind of like dome structures up on top of spirals that stick out of the ground, and then there's also kind of like her hideout with her brother or their house or whatever is kind of a ramshackle little thing in the middle of. It's on, like on the outskirts of the city, and there's trees all around, and all the furniture is very kind of a mix between like futuristic and also junkyard.
Yep.
And there's hovercrafts and spaceships and warping technology, and there's just all kinds of stuff. It's like a mix of future and junkyard. Like I said, there's a
Yep.
mix of high and low tech, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, the world building is like one of the I think the best strength of the show for me because they don't really like spoon it feed us like how the work's gonna be. They just show us, and it looks so distinctive.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah. As for the
Uh,
characters, though, I mean, I feel like
yeah,
we don't really know them too well
that
after this
that I agree
episode.
with. That's right. So
They're bounty hunters. That's about all we know.
yeah, and oh, I get it. It's just like her fight between between Iria and like one of the guy, and then later on like her like her fun of her brothers, which like because we don't know these people before, we just don't really care about their relationship.
Yeah, you're talking about Fujikuro, right? The guy who she fights, the one who has
Yep,
the
yep,
umbrella
yep, yep.
that he
Yeah,
travels around on, the
that's
engine-powered umbrella.
yeah, that's right, that's right. And then
It's
he got that umbrella stuck at some point.
Yeah, well, she had multiple times he like attempts to chase either Iria or Glenn or somebody,
Yep.
and she'll have like hooked up his machine to the side of a building or a gutter or something with a hook or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's right.
Um, which and he's like, What's going on?" And he that slows him down, which is why he doesn't make the warp point, like the
Yep, yep, yep.
teleport spot, midway through the episode. But it's yeah, the action generally has a good pace to it, especially I would say in the first half, because when you
Yep,
do get to those scenes where he's like unable to pursue them,
yep,
he just like the show reveals that information really quickly. Like
yep,
as he's discovering it himself, we see that he's been tied up or
yep,
restricted in some way by Iria, and it's just like the show just it's a beat and then it moves on.
yep,
Um,
yep,
Once we get to the second half of the episode, though, where they're on the spaceship and they're fighting against Zeiram,
yep.
that's where I started to like really lose interest.
Maybe because of the enemy who is, like an alien. Like he have like superpower. He's like unbeatable. Is
Yeah,
it because of him feeling like inhuman at the moment?
yeah. Well, Glenn is fighting against him, and he has a
Yep.
line that says, yes, I've heard rumors about you. They say you can't be killed."
Yep.
Uh,
Immortal.
yeah, so it's just an immortal monster that they're locked in this spaceship or space station, whatever it is. They're fighting against it, and it just gets to be kind of tiresome. Like it's just stalking them around.
Yep.
Uh, I didn't
Stalking.
feel like there was a real high sense of tension during these
Right.
scenes, even though
And
they're fighting for their lives. It doesn't really feel that way. I
yep.
guess because the monster like switches targets multiple times, and there will be scenes where Uh, like in particular the one scene where Bob is like is fighting against the monster,
Yep.
Babu as they call him, and
Yep.
Iria is like while Bob is fighting this immortal, unkillable demon,
Yep.
Iria is talking to the vice president of the company that wants to transport it to a back to their home world, and she's like debating him about the ethics of having created this monster and wanting to keep it alive and
Yep.
take it back to their home planet. And she's like getting into it with him. Dude, what are you doing? The guy who you came here with, who not only is he like your comrade, but he's also in some position of authority because he's the one who gives out jobs to the bounty hunters. He's like the president of your group or something.
Yep.
You're just letting him go up against this monster alone while you have a chat with this like bureaucrat.
And I thought that he's a goner for sure, but apparently he still somehow survived at the end.
Well, he should have died. He should have died, and Iria would have been like, "Oh, I guess I shouldn't have just completely neglected to fight alongside Bob, and I shouldn't have just had a little conversation with this side character during that time." Boy, I guess I really am a terrible protagonist. I need to work on that.
Yep,
Yeah, but
yep,
the thing like attaches itself to its chest and like sucks out his heart or like melts his skin or does some
yep,
crazy stuff like that. I don't know.
yep.
Yeah, and he's alive at the end of all that. I just don't like. I don't know. Where's the consistency, or where's the danger in fighting this thing?
Yep,
By the time I got to the end, I was just like, whatever.
yep, yep. Yeah, well, I have having the same feeling with you, but not to that extreme. I just found that the world building to be excellent. The animation is great as well. The character is not so much, and the story so far doesn't really hook me because there is a lot of action, and the action is not that suspenseful to begin with.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That really is the main issue for me is that it's completely action oriented and
yep,
didn't really like the direction of the action. I guess I should say it's
yep.
just I just wasn't into it.
All in all, though, I think because it's only 6 episodes, I gonna sometimes I gonna try to watch it to the end just because the animation looks so good.
Yeah, it's not too long. Wouldn't take too long, just a day or two
Yeah,
to
that's
knock it
right.
out.
All right. So, how do you put that? I put that third.
I put it last.
Really?
Yeah,
Really? Wow.
I was just
Is that
complete. I was by the time I got to the end, I was like, I regret watching this. I was completely bored.
wow? Hmm. All right. So we had something different already.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
All right.
Although all my, usually I'll be. Not that it really matters what I rank things out of 10 or where I put them on a list or anything, but
Yep.
usually I'm like pretty uh, set in deciding that something is my favorite or something's my least favorite or whatever. This time I watched a couple of these while I was like half asleep and looking at the order in which I listed them, I'm like, is this really where I ought to have put this? I don't know.
All right.
So things may be a little
That.
topsy turvy here.
All right. It just yeah. It is like if this any indication for listeners, that the year 1994 suck.
Yeah, it
All
wasn't.
right.
I mean, in the following year you have Ava, so
Yep.
I guess everyone was just taking a break in 1994.
Right. That that is true. Is it?
No,
The next one is Macross Plus. So let's talk about that.
right. Well, here's a group of people who were not taking a break.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
That's right. I
this
have.
you want to talk about an OVA that looks amazing. This
This is
is
the one.
this is the one. Yeah,
That's right.
at least from this year. Yeah.
Yep. And I haven't watched and any of Macross franchise before.
Okay.
So this is like my first introduction to the whole world, and I'm kind of sucked in at of the world as well. So is that like the mecha function like Transformers?
Yeah, that's the thing about that's what like makes Macross special, I guess, or sets it apart, is that the
Right,
mechs transform. They're called like variable fighters, so they go back
right.
and forth between being kind of humanoid robots and then also like jet planes, and sometimes they have other forms as well.
Hmm.
And also Macross is very focused on music. In every
Oh,
like mainline Macross series, there will be the main character will be part of a band, or the main character will be
hmm.
an idol, or or they'll have some sort of personal relationship with the musician or something along those lines. Like music is
Right.
always and music and the role that it plays in culture in general is always front and center in Macross.
That's why we have that girl who is like in the idol or something.
Right. Myung,
The
who's
love interest.
yeah,
Myung.
she's like the producer for Sharon
Right.
Apple, who's like a virtual
Yep, yep, yep.
singer, and it's which is interesting. The
Mhm.
so Macross Plus is typically thought of as being directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, the bebop guy.
Really?
Yeah, he's the director, but it was co-directed by Shoji Kawamori, who created the Macross franchise.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
Oh,
I
that's why that's yeah, it explains why it looks so good.
yeah yeah. Well, I mean
Right.
this was Watanabe's directorial debut,
Yep.
but already he was a powerhouse.
Mhm.
He had worked, I think, with Sunrise was where he did a lot of his training on Mecha series.
Right.
Um, but then he kind of betrayed. Sunrise is like the Gundam studio, so he betrayed them and went over to Macross, their direct competitor. I guess he got a pretty decent offer to be director.
Right.
And he had a lot of big ideas. I mean, you can kind of see the DNA of like bebop in Macross Plus. For example,
Yep.
the rivalry between Spike and
Yep.
Vicious over
Mhm.
Julia is
Yep.
very similar to the one between Dyson and Gould over
Yep.
Myung.
Yep.
And you even get the flashback. Like this episode opens on the flashback of them out on kind of like that grassy hill trying to get that flying machine up in the air.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Gould
Yep.
is like pedaling the little bike that it stands on, and then Dyson takes off into the sky, and that's to me that's also very reminiscent of some of the flashbacks that you see, just like snippets of in Bebop, where Spike and Vicious used to be part of the same like gang or syndicate, I should say, like criminal syndicate.
Yep. And I just learned that the music is made by Yoko Kanno as well. Oh my
Right.
God, I didn't know about that.
Yep. Oh, you got to, man, because like the ending song. I always love that trope where the ED like starts playing before the credits actually start rolling.
Yep.
So the
Yep.
ED like is playing in the very last scene of the episode, and then it leads into the credits. And the
Yep.
song, the as soon as I mean I've seen Macross Plus before, but as soon as I rewatched this first episode, and that song came in
Yep.
by the singer Mai Yamane, who Yoko Kanno frequently collaborates with. As soon as it comes on and she's singing, "I've been waiting for you," and there's like bongos in the background, and like the beds of synths all doing the chord progressions and the acoustic guitar going. It's just so oh, it's so good. I just went online and downloaded the song immediately. I
All
just
right. Yep.
replayed it multiple times. Oh man, it's so smooth.
Yep. Sorry, guys. Sorry, listeners. I skipped that.
Yeah,
I skipped the
you always skip those. I don't know why.
AD.
There's music, man.
It's it's all right. All right. Let's get back to Micro Plus, and yeah, not only the world, but like it's also established the characters and like their past relationship really well in these four episodes.
Yeah, it also leaves you, wanting to know more, like wondering. It doesn't fill in. Obviously, these two have like
Yep.
some uh there's bad blood between them, like
S-
they have a
s-
checkered past.
Yep. Yep.
But it doesn't spell everything out. Um
Yep.
so it makes you want to watch episode 2. And since this is an
Yep.
OVA, I don't remember what the release window was exactly, but it wouldn't have come out all at once. Um
Yep. It wouldn't.
so it would leave you wanting to buy the second disc, I guess, or VHS tape, laser disc. I don't know,
Yep.
probably laser disc. So I'm sure that it sold like hotcakes.
Hmm. 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 That's an interesting question. Is it Laserdisc or VHS? I
Well,
would say that
I
VHS.
I can't remember like the the lifespans of each of these media formats particularly well. But
Right.
Laserdisc and VHS were competitors, right? And Laserdisc was supposed to offer like superior audio and sound quality, but it was more expensive.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it may have come out on both.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
There's a lot of anime that was released only on Laserdisc, and now
Mm.
like there are entire groups who exist, like fan groups, subgroups that are dedicated to like ripping anime from Laserdisc in like the best possible quality. And there's always like slight improvements in the technology that can do that. So then they'll re-release their own work multiple times.
That's
It's a
so
whole
cool.
scene which is kind of interesting to follow.
Right.
But Macross Plus, of course, has seen official releases in with excellent visual fidelity, and it's a good thing too because, dude, the colors are just so insane
Mm.
in this series. Like the sunsets
Yep.
seem to
Yep.
use every single color that exists. Um,
Yep.
and the scenes where like Dyson or Gould will be flying and they'll go up through the clouds.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
the blues and the whites in those scenes, like the blue sky and the like the white bed of clouds underneath them as they're flying, they're just so pristine.
Yep.
Just really really amazing color design and direction of those scenes as well.
And even the animation look top notch as well.
I mean, the animation is arguably too good.
Yep.
Like the very first scene after the flashback where Dyson is flying around on that asteroid,
Yep. Yep.
and
Yep.
there's that gigantic combat sequence with like moving backgrounds,
Uh-huh.
and it's hard to follow. The
Oh.
animation's so meticulous. I mean, it sounds kind of odd that something so meticulous would be difficult to comprehend, but it's meticulous like in its quote unquote camera movement. It's
Yep.
difficult to track sometimes.
Yep. 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 I see what you mean. But it just make me think about, like how some of the show in, 2022 doesn't look as good as this one, being released some 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this isn't a TV show.
Yep. Yeah,
This
that's
is
true.
like a series of 4 half-length movies basically.
Yep. Um, how how well do you know about Macross? How did
I've seen Macross Plus. I've seen Macross Frontier. I watched half of Macross Delta before giving up,
yeah,
'cause I
how
wasn't
about
really
the
into Macross
original
Delta. I have
films?
not seen the original TV series, but I have seen Do You Remember Love,
Right,
which is like
right, right.
an alternate retelling of the TV series.
Yeah,
And Do You Remember Love is like one of the landmark anime films.
right.
Um, it was the Yeah, I mean, I'll just leave it at that, I guess, because anyone who's seen it knows exactly what I'm talking about and why. And
Yeah,
if you haven't, you should probably watch it. It can stand alone. Macross superfans will tell you watch the TV series first, but nobody has time for that. Like
right.
most people,
Uh, all
they're
right.
just working. You know,
Yeah.
they don't have
Come,
time to be watching 30 some episode mecha series.
yeah.
Just watch Do You
All right.
Remember Love.
Come to my next question. Is Macross Plus like essential, and it's like a newcomer, friendly?
Yeah, it is. In fact, it's the least Macross entry in the franchise. You can watch
Right.
this; it stands alone completely. I mean, it has some of the same themes.
Mm-hmm.
About there's a love triangle. Music plays a major role. There's variable fighters. The mechs. So it has
Mm-hmm.
all the trappings of a Macross series, but Watanabe really did his own thing with it,
Mm-hmm.
which is why he's typically thought of as the director. And I'm willing to bet that he was the one who was calling a lot of the shots, even though
Mm-hmm.
Shoji Kawamori co-directed it.
Yep. Yep.
Um, that's why it's thought of as his work because it so resembles the stuff that he would go on to direct.
Yep.
Um, and it's just interesting, like
Right.
the concept of a virtual pop star. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you think about what's happening now with holographic idols and VTubers and stuff like that. This show predicted the future.
Right. It. Yeah, it's right.
They're not exactly the same because VTubers are just like people with
Yep.
who have some sort of
Avatar.
special. Yeah, they're like avatars, and they mimic everything that you do essentially. So it's someone's controlling it. Whereas in this thing, it's like a synthetic artificial intelligence. It's not quite the same, although you learn more as Macross Plus goes on about what exactly powers Sharon Apple.
Yep.
But there's like a gigantic. There's that scene where Myung is like collaborating with all of the engineers in order to get the brain the synthetic brain chemistry just right. And there's that holographic brain where they're like,
Hmm.
let's up the electrodopamine by 2 levels or some. There's some techno babble like that. Um, you know,
Yep.
that's it's just interesting what the direction that Watanabe took Macross here.
Yep. Yep. And even like to the test pilots on the test run itself, I think it's pretty interesting as well because there is like an ongoing feud
Right.
between our two main characters.
Yeah. Yeah, it sets up the rivalry, which is probably. I mean, I have to imagine that in conceptualizing the series, he probably worked backwards, and he was like, "Okay, so there's two guys, and they're fighting.
Yep.
What are they fighting about?"
Yep.
And
Yep.
then
Yep.
he figured out, "Oh, I see. They're both pilots, and they're competing for like a government contract, probably."
Yep. And they
Um,
both love this girl, so let's them fight for this girl as well.
right. Yeah,
She's
the fights are really great. And I mean, it's serious. Of course, from the very beginning, you can tell it's an adult cast,
mhm.
and you can tell that Gould and Dyson don't like each other very much. But Gould tries to kill him at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I take that as an accident actually.
Really?
Like he slip off. Yes, at this
I mean, that's what he says
exactly
at the
like
end of
what
the
he said.
episode.
Yes.
They're like both glaring at each after the wreck. Gould because Gould
Yeah.
kind of like
All right. My take was that he was considering that, but he didn't go through with that. But then he slipped off, and he nearly killed that guy. That's what I thought. But if it did end up that he wanted to kill his rivalry, I think that would make a great series as well.
well, I mean, I see where you're coming from, I guess, because the direction of the scene kind of shows him like struggling with
Back off.
the
Yeah.
idea of whether to do it or not. Like because the way that his plane works, what makes his variable fighter special. I think like Dyson flies the 19 and Gould flies the 21,
Yep.
something along those lines. I don't remember the names of the models exactly, but
Hmm.
Gould's works it like syncs with his brain at multiple points
Yep.
during the episode. You see him communicating with his crew
Yep.
without actually moving his lips. So it's all like brain waves and stuff, and that's how he controls the mech as well.
Yep.
Um,
It's like
so
Eva, right?
yeah, what?
It's like Eva.
Yeah, but in Ava you actually have like when Shinji is talking to Misato, for example, um, he's actually talking like he's moving his lips
Right.
and stuff.
Yep. 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 Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, you sync to your. It's kind of similar in that you sync to your machine.
Yep.
But he can kind of like see the future. There are a couple points in this episode where Gold like it's not as though he actually sees what will happen in the future, but he can predict a course of action and see its result.
Oh,
And
right.
he sees himself like crushing Dyson's mech. He sees that as like a possibility and what'll happen if he takes things in a particular direction, I guess. But you can see him kind of hesitate before the wreck happens. So I can understand where you're coming from when you say he decided not to do it.
Yep.
Maybe that's the case.
Yep.
Maybe um, he hesitated, and so he wasn't able to bring about like
Yep.
the particular design that he had for like crushing the guy's
That
neck and killing him because he doesn't end
yeah,
up dying. But the final confrontation between the two of them, which leads into the ED, uh, he's Gold like acts as though Dyson's like, "What's your problem?" And Gold, he pauses and says, "Oh, sorry, it was an accident." And you can tell that Dyson thinks he tried to kill him.
yep. I I just mean like it doesn't matter either way because if Dyson die, we're gonna be, not worry about that.
Yeah,
He gonna be happy about that, and the vice versa because Dyson didn't wanted to save Grow in the first place.
yeah, that's true. I mean,
So
he
yeah,
also just kind of watches him falling, like free
yeah.
falling after he loses control of his mech.
So so
So
yeah, this guy gonna kill off each other's like at the end of the series.
yeah,
I want to see that.
they do seem to have it out for each other for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm not sure if I'm in for them, like teaming up at the end to find some, like some great devil. I want them to kill off each other.
well, I don't remember how it ends, but at least as of right now, through this
Yep,
first episode, there isn't some overarching antagonist.
yep, that's right.
It's the two of it's a very personal conflict. I think that's what I appreciate a lot about this first episode is
I
that it's a
I
conflict
totally agree.
between human beings. It's not a conflict between a group of human beings who don't have
Evil.
particularly good teamwork versus like some weird immortal vampire monster thing
Yep,
on a spaceship
yep,
like Iria
I agree.
Zeiram.
Yep, I agree. So this one feel I think this one feel big, epic, and feel personal at the same time. So yep,
Yeah,
I put it first.
so did I.
Yep,
It's the best anime that 1994 has to offer, probably.
yep.
Except
According
for, I
to
think,
us.
there's obviously there's Pompoko, the Ghibli film.
Right,
Um,
1994. Yeah, Pomoko.
yeah, but I think apart from that film, this is probably the best of the lot.
Yep. All right, the next one gonna be Magic Knight Rayearth.
Yeah.
Rayearth.
So this one, I've seen this first episode once before,
Yep.
because this show has a pretty big footprint. Like a lot of people really love it. So I tried watching the first episode once, and I absolutely hated it.
Yep.
Just quit watching it immediately. I was like, this is not for me. So Mario suggested that we watch it again, and I was like, all right, here we go. Gonna give it another try. So here I am. That's
How
my backstory with this
how
this
did you
episode.
feel this time? I just feel that it's like a grandmothers of isekai.
Oh,
Like
not at all, man.
you have like all the isekais staple in there.
Yeah.
Like they, like just being transported to the new world against their will,
Hmm.
and they try to save that world, like by having a magical power. Here they are,
Yeah.
and they color code as well, of course. They are.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
this is far from the first isekai series. You got stuff like
that's that
Dunbine
that's true. Yeah.
in from the 80s, but this is definitely an early installment in the genre.
Yep.
I watched this while I was half asleep this time around. And I don't know if that contributed to me liking it more this time, but I did appreciate it a little bit more. And a lot more, in fact.
All right. That is good. I'm happy, man.
Yeah. So you just got to watch
I
stuff while you're almost
have
unconscious.
sleep.
That's the moral of the story.
I enjoy this one more than I thought. I think that like out of all the series that we're watching for 1994, this one looked the best. It's look inconsistent at times. Sometimes like it focus on the main character faces and it look polished, and sometimes when it's pull off, it look off model sometimes. But
Yeah. Like
like
the placement of their eyes on their face.
yeah, that's right, that's what I'm thinking of. But I kind of like the character design. I like the three main characters at the moment. They are not annoying so far, and
Really?
really, and, and I kind of enjoy the world building so far. So yes,
I mean, how can you say they're not annoying?
it's
I mean,
just
I
the
think
first
of one of
episodes.
them, like they're designed to kind of get on your nerves, don't you think? Like the
Uh,
blue-haired girl, it just
I like her the
single.
most.
She's the one who wants to go back home, right?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
She's the one.
she that's all she cares about is just going back home. And of
Yep,
course, the redheaded girl is like all about the fact that they found themselves in this mysterious world, and they have this mission to save it. She's all about that.
yep.
So the two of them are like diametrically opposed in terms of how they're written, and I don't know. I just feel like there's plenty of annoyance to be had listening to the two of them like bicker and just
Oh, I don't mind.
yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Well, that's good.
yeah,
I mean, maybe if their eyes weren't like practically sliding off of their face in
oh,
some scenes, like their faces weren't melting, I would find them to be a little bit more tolerable because I could recognize them as kind of like human looking. But man, the I hate the character design so much in
yeah,
this
yeah,
series.
yeah. I can see that, but I enjoy that a lot. So
I mean,
this,
the manga that this is based on is by Clamp, and
oh, right, yeah,
Clamp designs are always kind of weird looking. Like people's legs are way too long.
yeah.
Their facial features are always kind of squished or sideways. Um,
It it's a way we proposition, like the usually the neck are too long.
Necks
Yeah, necks.
in Clamp,
In clam, yeah.
dude,
I
it's
remember
definitely
exactly.
legs. Noodle people.
All right, legs as well. I remember like XX Holic
Yeah.
have that really weird character designs. And so yeah, like you said, shows there's a lot of the shows. So
I mean, in a lot of Clamp adaptations, like Holic or Cardcaptor Sakura or X or whatever,
yep.
um, the animation director will kind of enforce a consistent look. Um,
Mm,
but in Magic Knight Rayearth, I guess that didn't really happen.
yep.
Everything just looks a lot more loose, and sometimes I can get behind that, but not here.
Mm,
I
mm,
just think it's weird.
right.
Everybody just looks kind of weird.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of the sort of
Uh,
character designs where the eyes take up half the face, and then the nose and mouth are just a couple little lines.
yep.
Like that's
All
really
right.
typical of a particular style of '90s anime.
Yeah.
Slayers is another one that
Right.
kind of reminds me of how Magic Knight Rayearth looks, although it's not quite as slipshod.
Yep.
Um, and I don't know. I don't really like that. Something about that puts me off.
Yeah. All right. So I we disagree on the three main characters design, but I gonna agree with you on Clef, the guy who
He's like
who
their guide, basically.
yeah, and who is killed off, like later in the episodes, and he looked so young for his part. He just looked like a 10 years old kid, 12 years old kid.
Yeah, well, I kind of like that he was younger looking because it indirectly establishes that magic can be used by anyone. It's
Right.
not like they are welcome to this new intriguing world by Gandalf. You don't have to have the
Yep.
wise old sage. The fact that
Right.
he's young means that he was able to master magic despite his relative youth. So that means that maybe these girls can too.
Hmm.
And I like his staff and how his summons, because you can summon like creatures in this world to fight for you. One thing I really liked about him in particular and the fact that he can use his summons this way is like when you unsummon them or
Yep.
whatever, when they disappear, they don't just vanish in a puff of smoke, and they
Yep.
don't just like turn into a little red light and get sucked back into your Pokeball.
Yep.
Instead, they actually physically get sucked into whatever instrument you use to summon them. So like his staff, for example, I can't even remember
Definitely.
what form his summon took. Like what kind of creature was it? Do you remember?
I don't. I actually can't recall that.
Me neither. The only thing I remember is the scene of it getting like literally sucked into his staff,
Yep.
and I was like,
Yep.
"Whoa, that's cool!" Like they actually took the time to animate that.
Yep. Yep.
Um, the things that I appreciated about Rayearth rewatching it now were mostly like weird things like that. Like the fact that his summon gets sucked back into his staff and there was no shortcut taken in terms of depicting that happening, or the fact that who's the evil guy? What's the evil guy's
Uh.
name? I can't remember. Oh, Zagato.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
All of his henchmen, like his followers, are when he has some sort of council meeting and he addresses all of them. They're all like hidden behind a waterfall, and you can see their shadows, but they
Yep.
don't step out unless he mentions them by name. Like for some reason, I thought that was just so cool. Uh, like they're all there, and
Alright.
they're hidden, but only the one woman who uh,
It
serves as an antagonist in this episode actually reveals herself.
it sounds like an Ikuhara shows.
Yeah. Well, I
You
mean,
know.
it's Ikuhara having his background, in Mahou Shoujo, like Sailor Moon.
Yep.
This show is also sort of in that vein, where you got
Yep.
the
Yep.
the evil demon lord type of guy who's got all of his henchmen, and yeah, somebody being hidden behind a waterfall. That does sound like something he would do.
Yep. Yep. They actually have like the OVA that released later on, right? That's what I that's what I heard.
I have
Like in
no idea. Let me see. Oop, that wasn't right. There was a Rayearth OVA. I mean I would assume that was just serving as a sequel to the TV series.
Mhm.
Um,
All right.
Rayearth OVA. From yeah, is it a sequel? No, it says alternative version.
Yeah.
So
One
maybe
of the
not. Maybe
review
not a sequel. Maybe
yeah,
just yeah.
one of the reviews said the OVA was created as a standalone adventures.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure the TV series is what it's known for, but I have to imagine that the OVA would maybe be a little bit more cleaned up.
Yep. All right.
It might lose some of the charm in the process, though.
It might. It will. It will. So, take it as it goes. I actually, like buying what they selling at the moment. Like the triggers from, like knowing nothing will become, like a a a, a lifesavers, a heroines, to sell the world. So I'm kind of like the magic that they play at the moment. Like the red girl is over fire. Uh, I would say that the blue girl in the future gonna be about, water, but
Probably.
of course. And yeah, I don't mind watching it. It's actually like one of the show that, like after watching this first episode, I want to watch it to the end.
uh, all right.
So that's actually a high compliment from me,
I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean, you often will say, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely watching this." Then a year later, no further episodes of Nana have been watched.
Or when I find the time.
I just man, the characters, they're so thin. They just have like one personality trait. You only get to know them for like a couple minutes at Tokyo Tower before they get sucked into this new world.
They don't
It's just like
they don't even talk to each other then, they don't even know each other back then.
right. Well, I mean that's fine. I think them getting to know each other once they're thrust into this role makes sense because
Yep.
then there's some tension between them and they have to work it out and become friends, et cetera, et cetera. But we just It's like the show just said, okay, well, we don't need to know anything about who they are or their backstories or anything about them really, other than their one weird personality quirk, which is established as they're talking to their friends on this field trip, and then bam, let's just get to the part where they, magic and monsters and flying around on a weird bird thing.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
let's just get to all that. That's what people want to see, right? It doesn't feel like they really put in the work
Yep.
to justify this even being a television series to begin with.
Right. Um, all right. So what did you put it?
Third,
Really?
I'm telling you, dude. Just watching this while I was almost asleep really, really did it some
Improve your
favors.
experience. All right, I put it fifth, and I consider that I really liking that a lot. Surprise. There's always surprise. Uh, let's
There,
get to the
there you
next one.
go.
All right, the next one gonna be Machiko Circle Guru Guru.
Yep.
So before watching this, I remember like back in 2017, I watched the new version of this one of Guru Guru,
Yeah.
Mahoujin Guru Guru, and I
You
I
watched the
really
whole
like.
thing?
No, I just watched like the first few episodes, and I really like it. I feel like it's snappy. It like it the joke just come in with you, like as quick and go just as quick, but some they hit more than missed. So I have a bit of like expectation when I watch the original, and what I found is that some of the humor here is a bit dated. Um, it
Hmm.
it kind of enjoyable, still enjoyable, but like I understand why like they have to remake it.
Why they had to remake it? What was different about the remake? I mean, I saw the first episode of the
Yep,
2017 remake.
right.
I thought they were pretty. I mean, this one moves a little bit more slowly because in the first
Hmm.
episode of 2017, they actually make it all the way to they go to the king's castle so he can give them a quest or something.
Yep, yep,
That doesn't happen in this episode because there's more time spent on Nikkei, like his home life and his parents like kicking him out to become a hero and stuff.
right.
That
Yep.
that takes longer. Him, meeting the old witch in the forest and gaining Kukuri as a party member. That takes a little bit longer.
Yeah,
Um,
it's still quick enough though, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like he already on the quest and he already meet the girl and they already, like on the quest to go to the kingdom or whatever together.
yeah. In fact, I prefer it this way. I would prefer it that
Right.
the two of them, like setting out on their adventure, be the conclusion of the first episode.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
like a lot of anime reboots or remakes will kind of speed through stuff
Yep.
at the start. Like a lot of people will claim that Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood moves too quickly through its opening chapters.
Yep.
Um,
That one and Hunter x Hunter as well.
yeah, Hunter x Hunter too,
Mm.
and Fruits Basket. Um, and I mean, those are the big examples that are coming to me off the top of my head. Fruits Basket actually, I think, for its first few episodes, moves at the same pace as the 2001 series,
Right.
but eventually it starts to move a little faster.
Yep.
Um, so
How do you
this
find about
one
the episodes?
I appreciate being able to go back to the original and
Yep.
see the first adaptation, what the director had in mind for it
Hmm.
originally, and being able to experience that slower, like more, I don't know, more explorative
Yep.
um, version of it.
Yep. 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 How do you like it?
Or what? I mean, why don't I just talked for like a minute?
All right. Yeah,
Did you?
all right. I didn't actually didn't figure out that you prefer this version or the 2017 version more.
Oh yeah, I think I like this version more,
All right,
just because of the cell animation.
right. I
the colors are just better. They just look real. I mean, it also helps that I watched a really good transfer of it.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, that's always like when I was watching Shounan Junai Gumi, the video file just looked like garbage.
Oh,
Um,
is that the VHS rip? Because
Most likely,
I watched that on the VHS rip. It looks terrible.
yeah. I have to imagine that that's what it was. It probably hasn't gotten a different release.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, the transfer, the quality of the transfer or the rep or whatever you want to call it, definitely has an impact on whether how much you appreciate something.
Yep.
And in this case, it helps quite a bit. Like I just thought the
I
colors looked great, especially given the sort of background design and
Yep.
the real simple coloring of the characters too. They only have like two or three colors that are like the kind of the foundation of their outfit, their design.
Yep.
You
And
gotta,
I
yeah,
y- yeah, and I really like the character design. They look
yeah, me too.
simple. They look like actually attractive.
Yeah, they they're definitely inspired by Japanese RPGs. I mean, the whole series is.
Yeah,
But the
but
fact that they have those really simple designs, they're like simplified versions of Toriyama designs.
right.
Um, so not
And
as many
watching
like folds in the clothes, and the hair is a little bit less elaborate, but I think they have kind of the same foundations.
Yeah, and watching the character design and kind of the humor. You know what this show remind me of? It remind me of one of the show that we watched through the time capsule as well.
What's that?
Doctor Slump.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I
yeah,
can I can see
I
that.
yeah,
It's
I
like
kind
really
of
gag
wonder.
based.
Yeah, that's right. And I kind of wonder if it's like based on the same mangaka, but I don't think it is.
No, Doctor Slump is Toriyama.
All right. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
one
yeah.
of his manga, whereas Mahoujin Guru Guru is probably just inspired by his work. Yeah, it really does. I actually wrote down that the backgrounds kind of remind me of Doctor Slump's art
All right.
in my notes here, but it's a little bit more subdued. Like Doctor Slump is the colors are a little bit more bright. It's a little bit more neon, I think.
Yep.
Whereas
Yep.
this one being set in kind of almost the jungle um,
Yep. Yep.
is it's a little bit more lush. Like I feel like the colors are they're not so bright. They're a little bit I don't know stronger,
Mm.
um, a little bit less flashy maybe. But just I like the fact that such simple shapes are used in the background art.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, there's a real economy of design
Yep.
to the whole series. The characters too, because they are real simple looking. They got little round
And
heads and short bodies, and the hair is not too elaborate, which is
yep.
good because the humor is also pretty simple. It's just
Yep.
riffing
That's
on
right.
like Dragon Quest and
That
um,
that's right.
the whole thing with Nikkei's parents being like, "Okay, you're the chosen one now. Bop, get out of here."
Yep.
Is of course a parody of how JRPGs function, where the character you just wake up in your bed and
Yep.
okay, time to go on a journey.
You are the one.
Yeah,
You're gonna save the world.
yeah.
Now let's go.
But I appreciated the humor of those scenes, like when Nikkei is like lying in his hammock,
Mhm.
and he's just trying to get a little peace and quiet, and his parents they approach him and he's pretending to be asleep and they're talking about how they're going to miss him so much and he's like, "Oh, they really do love me after all." And then they start singing that horrible song in their like tone deaf voices. It like shatters the moment in such a perfectly humorous way.
Right. So I put it 6.
Oh, we're done
We
talking
done.
about it. All right. I put it at number 5 out of 10.
Cool. Hmm. All right. Let's see if we agree on the next one then.
All right.
The next one is Marmalade Boy.
Yep.
All right, you know what? I just feel that watching the shows in 1994, the show that made in 1994, I get the feeling that like some stand the test of time, like Macross Plus, and some others like have like a very troublesome message. This one is for in the latter.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, it's
it's
pretty weird. It's just pretty weird, man.
Oh my, it starts with a girl who have her parents want to divorce in order to get laid with another parent, so they swap partners.
Well, it's not just
And
they actually fall in love with them while they're on this cruise or this vacation or
uh,
something. So,
right,
yeah, I mean, who knows how much of their motivation is sexual? Uh, it's probably significant because they're
uh,
bored of each other as sexual partners and they want somebody new, I guess. But for the purposes of the series and what's
uh,
explained to us as an audience, they've actually fallen in love with these other people. Yeah, so that creates the whole weird living situation that will be the basis of the show going forward.
yeah, and I just cannot get over the fact that like they just try to gloss over that, they just try to get that girl Vicky to like to accept the whole idea. And yeah, I don't like the idea though, and I don't find that to be appealing. You know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's very strange. I think the worst part of it is that the show takes it very seriously. Like
Yep. Yep.
it could have just been a simple gag, and then it from there on you just kind of treat it lightly and oh this is so like weird and whimsical and now I'm living together with my new stepbrother
Yep.
who what kind of wacky hijinks are gonna ensue, but
Yep.
instead the show kind of takes her resistance to the idea.
Hmm.
It makes a big deal out of that. Like they have that family dinner and she's like I absolutely will not accept this, and she is seriously like digging in her heels
Yeah,
against it. Where you really shouldn't have done that. Like it could have just
that's
been,
right, and
oh my crazy parents are at it again, instead of her like crying over it.
that's right, and to make that worse, like the next scene when she like rebels against her parents, we have like all sort of like other character just like try to ignore her, and it the whole thing's really awkward.
Yeah.
Even like that guy you who said like you done talking, that is the way it is now. I'm cool with that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean that. Yeah. I guess maybe they needed her to be like really resistant to the idea of her parents getting together because that generates conflict between her and you. Like he's okay with it, but she's not, and that
Yeah.
causes a rift between them initially. So
Um,
I guess I
what
understand.
what riff? Because like at the end of that episode, you actually kiss her. Like
While he
even
assumes that she's
without her
asleep.
consent.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that bring up other issue with this show. I just cannot stand that. Okay.
Yeah. Uh
What the hell you kiss your is
your
that
new stepsister for
that's right.
while she's asleep at school.
On the lips.
Right.
It's
Uh
just all the thing. It's just
yeah.
it's so wrong.
Yeah, you just keep listing aspects of that scene and it just gets worse and worse.
You know.
Uh I don't know, man. It's like a shojo series from the 90s.
Yep.
So there's going to be dubious consent, I
Yep.
suppose, and you just got to roll with that as an audience member. I mean, you don't have to
I,
roll with it. You can just say I hate
I
this. But
yep.
if you're going to watch 90s shoujo anime in general, you have to be some of this is going to come your way.
Yep. The thing is, I actually kind of like the designs, and I actually find that the friends, Mickey friends, and the two friends, the two there's a guy, I don't remember the name, but there's a girl called Meko. I found them to be more interesting than the leads.
Well, the guy is Ginta, the like her childhood friend, or
Yeah, yeah,
maybe he's not
yeah,
her
right.
childhood friend, but you learn over the course of the episode that she confessed her love to this guy, and he
Yep.
rejected her.
Yep.
Um,
I like that idea
and
already.
they're still friends. Yeah, that's kind of uncommon,
Hmm.
so that's kind of cool. Um, but as I mean, I've seen 5 episodes of this series
Oh,
because I
you
was
did
really
well.
I'd heard that it was like one of the best '90s shoujo anime. This was a long time ago, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna really try to get into this, and I had to bail out. But you
Right.
Ginta starts getting really jealous and possessive really fast,
Hmm. That
and
interesting as
it
well.
establishes a love triangle.
Yep. Yep.
And she's like, you don't have any right to do this. You rejected me once before.
Hmm.
Of course, it goes exactly the way that you would assume that it would.
Yep.
Um, I don't know, man.
I I would say like there will be another triangle as well. I think Mako gonna fall for you as well in the future.
Could be.
Mickey friends, yeah. So
Right, Mako, yeah. She's the like the really beautiful girl who's yeah, all the guys are in love with her, but
yep,
she never goes out with any of them, and
yep,
she doesn't
yep,
want to
yep.
get married because her parents are, had a terrible
Divorce.
relationship. They stayed together
Oh yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but she resented how little her parents seemed to care for each other. Um, just the show has a very weird view of marriage in general,
Yeah, yeah. That is true.
and romance and
And
consent.
adult. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Also, the teacher with the glasses, who talks to Miki for a second in the hallway.
yep.
I got a really
I
weird vibe from him.
right. I don't remember him, but all right.
I'm afraid that there's going to be like some teacher student romance somewhere in here.
Oh,
That I don't remember experiencing in the 5 episodes that I saw. But
and another teacher-student romance.
what do you mean another one? Is there
We
some
will
other
talk.
one?
We will talk about one later on.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So yeah, this show just felt wrong to me. Like I just, for the life of me, I just cannot fathom the idea behind it. So yeah, it failed me on its, like on its first 5 minutes.
First
So I
5 minutes. What happens in the first 5 minutes? Her parents explain
Yep,
their
yep,
plan
yep,
to remarry.
yep.
Okay.
That's
Huh.
right. And it gets worse from there.
I
So
like I don't there in general when I'm watching anime, I try to just like turn off the part of my brain that objects to stuff like on a moral or
yep,
ethical level. That doesn't really always work. Sometimes I'm like this is just
yep,
too much. I can't deal with this. For Marmalade Boy, I can pretty much get past everything about it that reads as
yep,
objectionable now. But the show's still really stupid.
yep,
Even if you are like, "Yep, I can deal with this. I don't have a problem with this." I still have an issue with how like vapid it is. So,
right.
not for me.
Yep. Not for me. Not totally not for me. I put that 9 out of 10.
I did 8.
Okay. All right. The next show is the show that I have listing to talk about, Metal Fighter Miku.
You don't have any really. You don't have anything to say about this. I mean, it was directed
Yep.
by Akiyuki Shinbo.
Yeah, I know that, but there is absolutely I mean like it tried to be an I don't even know what it tried to be. Like the girls are idols and they fight just for show. It just nothing really concrete about the whole idea, and I don't even care about the characters to begin with.
I know what you mean when you say there's nothing concrete. Like, because they're wrestlers,
Mm,
and the premise of the show is they are going to wrestle. There will be
and
wrestling. They
and
could
and
call
they
this show "There Will Be Wrestling," like there will be blood, but
yeah
the idol wrestling version.
and and they're gonna be a singer as well. That's what I learned because they are an idol. Like
Right. Well, that is their boss. I can't remember the guy's name,
yeah,
but he's like their promoter, and he's the head of this organization. Like what the plot will end up being that they get embroiled in this larger like female wrestling league, um, because that's what the villain wants to do. Like the head of this corporation, whose
yep,
daughter runs the like she's invested in female wrestling.
yep,
He wants to like shame and humiliate the other coach because they have
yep,
some history between them. So that's gonna, as a result, he like sends these fighters after the girls and interrupts their debut match or Miku's
yep,
debut match. We had Miki and Marmalade Boy. Now we have Miku and Metal Fighter Miku.
yep,
They interrupt her debut match, and so she's like, "Yeah, we're we're gonna fight you guys." So that's gonna get them involved in wrestling matches in the future, and that's why I'm saying like all we know about the show so far is that there will be wrestling.
right,
This whole first episode is basically just a shoestring plot to use as a jumping off point for future wrestling matches. Now they need to get revenge on these guys, so they're gonna wrestle them.
right, right.
I
Oh
don't know,
my,
man.
talking about how much I care about that.
I there I kind of liked this episode.
Right.
One thing that I really liked about it was the fact that Miku, she's supposed to be part of this idol promotion because that's
Yep.
that's how their boss wants to promote them is like as a wrestling idol group.
Yep.
But Miku's like, nope, not doing that. I'm just gonna go to the stadium and watch my favorite wrestler on
Yep.
her comeback, like her comeback match. So uh, she just does that. She's like, nope,
Yep.
not gonna do your idol thing. I'm gonna do my own thing. I want to go
Yep.
watch wrestling. And I was like, oh, okay, I can get behind this. This is kind of cool.
Yep.
She's like a free spirit. Um, but I don't know. Apart from that, it was pretty
Yeah.
felt
I
kind of empty. Like not a lot of Shinboisms either. There was one
yeah, that's
scene where a
right.
character gets knocked back on their ass, and like the color gradient kind of gets like inverted for a second to indicate like the force of the impact. Um, that was the only real Shinbo thing that I saw, apart from like the focus on the really like the sexy uh, female like fight promoter, whatever
Yeah.
her deal was, the woman who was wearing all the pearls and stuff. Like the fact that she was how attractive she was highlighted in like every single one of her scenes. That felt very Shinbo to me.
Yeah.
Like her
But
crossing her legs all the time and stuff.
yeah, remember we did the symbol like retrospective, and
Yeah.
we watched his film. Sorry, we watched his series throughout his 90s, 20s, and and recent times. I
Well, it
also
was
found that
just Tenemonio Voyagers and Le Portrait de Petit Cosset, or however
is
you.
that is that the two of them? I remember
Yeah, it
there
was
been
just those two
three. All right, all right. Sorry, my bad.
because we
And
watched both of them in their entirety.
yeah,
Yeah, and those were like a lot more daring.
I actually now I just doesn't remember at all these uh the the 1997 ones.
Tenemonio
Like
Voyagers.
yeah, I just like I don't think it's good. It doesn't really stick with me either.
Well, the story is pretty lame,
Yeah,
but visually it was crazy.
yeah, it's supposed to be a parody. So yeah, the fact that it doesn't end, like it doesn't have a proper end hurt as well.
I guess. I mean, I was from the start. I was just viewing it as like, whoa, look at that! Whoa, look at that scene! Oh my God, look at that scene! Yeah, the story was just meh, whatever. It's just kind of there in the background. And I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of the same for Metal Fighter Miku. I
yeah, that's right.
assume that Shinbo just doesn't really value story very much.
Yep,
Um, Metal Fighter Miku is gonna be all about like girls wrestling. That's who cares how exactly it really happens. Nobody. There's some rivalry between two old dudes,
yep,
and it's just in the background, and nobody cares.
yep,
Look,
yep.
female wrestlers.
Uh, I didn't buy the part. Uh, so yep,
I
I
thought the
didn't.
like the personalities of the girls were okay. Like
Uh,
Miku's like real cheerful, and I there was a particular exchange between two of them when they were in their dressing room. Do you think this is too much lipstick? It looks fine. Too much lipstick is definitely your style.
yep,
Like there's just a little bit of banter, and when Miku
yep,
comes back from skipping work to go see this wrestling match, the other girls are like, "Oh well," they don't get really angry with her. They just
yep.
accept that that's part of her personality. I kind of like
I
the girls as like a wrestling unit.
Yep, yep. There's a bit that I like about them as well is that Miku had to stay behind to clean up because he was, like skipping the debut,
Right.
and the other girl just say like, yeah, you deserve it. You get a chance to watch the idol yourself. We didn't get a chance to watch her,
Right.
so you deserve it. So yeah, I like that part there.
Yeah, but I don't think that there's going to be a great story um, to back it
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Yep. I think like in the next few episodes, it's gonna be, like combat after combat, wrestling after wrestling.
Oh yeah. What could
So
be better?
yeah, I put it eight.
For me, to number seven.
Yep. All right. So we have three left.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
next one gonna be, I think, the most popular one, Sailor Moon S
Yeah.
by Ikuhara,
Yeah,
no less.
it's Ikuhara's tenure.
Yeah, I just say that the first 10 seconds gonna tell you, like this is the Ikuhara shows.
Why? What happens in the first 10 seconds?
That's the dream that one of the girl have.
Oh,
Like
like the premonition of the world ending?
yeah, and all the other girls just turn into stone, I think.
Right.
And it looked like a real nightmare. And I visualize it's look exactly like what Ikuhara, like gonna do in the future, especially with Utena. Sorry.
Kind of. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. There's like a little bit of an apocalyptic feel to that dream sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and there's a dark tone to the episode as well. Like
Yep.
the Tanabata monster
Yep.
who attacks Ray. That attack goes on for like a lot longer than average for Sailor Moon.
Mm-hmm.
I actually so Sailor Moon S is the third season. I actually have not seen R, which is the second season. So
Yep.
I skipped straight to to the first episode of S here.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Obviously, I would double back and watch R first because Ikuhara directed the second half of R.
All right. Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I think it was Junichi Sato who directed the first season and then the first half of R. Pretty
All
sure.
right.
Um,
Eh,
he's the Princess Tutu, Arya the animation guy.
right. All right. In the listing, he was the episode director of the one that we watch,
Oh,
Junichi Sato.
okay.
Hmm.
So I guess he was still involved with the franchise even after he departed as the head director.
Yeah.
But he was a big influence on Ikuhara, as was this show and this franchise in general. But
Yep.
yeah, it does. So the reason I brought all that up is just like the fact that I've only seen the first season is because I have a point of comparison for
Yep.
a lot of the Monster of the Week episodes from the first season, and this one, the Tanabata monster, is like
Yep.
way more threatening and its
All right.
assault on Ray goes on for far longer. Like the fact that it has her pinned up against the wall with the beam,
Yep.
that beam that's like sucking out her soul or her pure heart, I guess they
Yep.
call it.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It just goes on for a long time. Like it's not so easily defeated.
Right.
Sailor
Mm.
Moon and the other
The other girls.
sailors who were the other sailors? I can't remember all their names. Jupiter and Venus, I guess.
Right.
They try to defeat the monster, and it's just like, nope. You
Yep.
guys don't. You guys suck. I am just stronger than all of you. And Sailor Moon, your weird transformation attack beam thing that takes a minute and a half to do anything because the transformations sequences are so long.
Yep. Yeah.
And all you have to watch all of that just for the attack to have like no effect whatsoever. Um,
Yep.
it's just the fact that this first episode opens with a monster that's so threatening. It kind of like casts a shadow over what's going to come. Like it's foreboding.
Mhm.
Kind of lets you know that things are going to be different this season. We're going to go in a darker direction. I assume that's what happens,
I
especially based on the fact that Ray has that premonition of the everybody turning to stone and the world ending and stuff.
Yeah, I kind of like that. If that's the direction that they take, yeah, I kind of like that. But I don't understand one of the plot point though. That's there is two two other girls behind the scenes. Uh, when the fight is over, they just look at the stone or the thing that they collect from Ray, and they say like this is not it, and they
Right.
return that back to Ray. How?
Well, that's
Why?
the
Why
reason
don't they
that the
destroy the whole things?
what? Why didn't they
Why
destroy
don't they
what?
that thing so that like Ray cannot be normal again?
No,
His her
that
soul, right?
wasn't. They didn't. That they. She needs that. Like they can't. They can't destroy that.
Yeah, but mm, isn't Ray her enemy, their enemy?
No, not at all. Those
Right.
are sailors. That's Uranus and Neptune.
Oh,
They're good
really?
guys.
Oh, really? All right, all right, all right. Sorry. All
Yeah.
right. Yep.
They're the ones who end up defeating the monster.
Right.
Because the
Right.
the reason that the
Okay.
monster was sent after Ray in the first place was because they like wanted to try to they
Get the
need pure
pure soul.
hearts.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
they're trying to get somebody's pure heart, but so that's why the monster like has Ray pinned up against the wall and is using the beam to suck out her pure heart.
Yep.
Because they need like particular hearts of they need hearts that are particularly pure in order to I don't know, do whatever, just do demon lord shit.
Yep.
Uh just bad guy Maho Shoujo stuff. Um but they yeah, Ray's heart is I guess not it's not the one like I don't know.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. It's not compatible. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know. We
I
don't know
don't
for
know.
sure.
I was originally going to say it's not pure enough, but that just kind of sounds weird. It's not suitable for their purposes, I guess. So at
Yep.
this point in this season, Uranus and Neptune, who I have to imagine are the two shadowy figures
Yep.
who beat the monster,
All
they
right.
they also are after the same thing that the bad guys are after. Who knows for what purpose?
Right.
Um,
Right. I get it.
but yeah, that's why they return her heart to her, or
Yep.
however that works,
Yep.
because they don't need it.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It's not. She's not the one.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool that like we have the monster of the week that's so powerful that even Sailor Moons or the other girls who like pop up randomly just got like just they cannot contribute anything. Even like the even like Sailor Moon love interest, he came at one point and he got like he got attacked
Right.
right
Tuxedo
afterward.
mask.
Yeah, to cinemas. I like the idea. I like the idea that like they all feel useless. They are all useless at that point.
Right.
No one can separate.
Yeah. It's we're Dragon Ball Z. This show is basically Dragon Ball for girls. Um,
Right.
and I mean the whole manga is like Dragon Ball for girls. And I mean, not that girls can't like Dragon Ball. I mean, Naoko Yamada was a big Dragon Ball fan.
Yep.
I was reading about her recently, and I discovered that. I thought that was an interesting fact. um, but there's like power levels basically. So now we're in a new season. The monsters are all going to be more powerful. They're going to have to get like new attacks and new like I
Yep.
don't know
Yep. Yep. Yep.
batons, whatever they use to cast their magic and shit. Dude, I don't know.
Yep. How about you watched the whole first season, right? How
Yeah,
about the production for this one compared to the production of the first season?
man, it would be really difficult for me to make that comparison. I would say it's just been consistent. I mean, Sailor Moon look
Consistent.
it's a
Yeah.
the art direction is the main draw, I think. Obviously, the animation during the transformation sequences is like really elaborate and
Yep.
amazing because they reuse it for nearly every single episode in every season.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but it's I'd say it's mostly the art direction, like the color. Everything's got like a little bit of a yellow or a pink sheen to it.
Yep.
It's kind of pastel. Um, and the character designs are all like they make all the characters look really cute.
Yeah. Well,
Everything's kind of sparkly. It's just like there seems to be a very consistent ethos,
right.
like
Consistent.
in terms of design throughout
Right.
the whole series. Like the way that the characters look, it was really complemented by the way that the backgrounds are kind of soft. So the
Yep.
characters being really bright and stylishly designed, they kind of pop out.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. It's consistent with the first season.
All right.
But the fact that we
Because
got this real dark looking vision of the end of the world
mhm,
means that we might move in a different direction as the season goes along.
yep. Um, come from me who like just what this one as like the first the first episode like I watched the show a long time ago when I was a kid, so I don't really remember. But when I watched this again this time, I just feel that like some of the aspect are in the production they look a bit amateurish. I just think that like because they have to like produce this like week after week, uh
Well, I mean,
so
yeah, all anime have that issue.
yeah,
All TV anime, yeah.
it look a bit rough. That is what I mean. But I think it's just like the style of Salem. It more like a choice more than like the production difficulty. You know.
Well, I wouldn't say so. I mean, that's just are you talking about scenes where characters will like they do that thing where they kind of start on the edge of the frame and then they like slide into
Right, right,
the
right.
center
Yep.
of the frame? That's not a Sailor Moon thing. That's an anime thing.
Right.
This anime just does that, Like the further back you go, the more of it you see.
Yep.
Just because it's cheap and it's
Yep.
fast.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
and I don't think there's any. I mean, I kind of like that. Whenever I see that, I'm sure that if I
Old
had
school. Yeah.
started as an anime fan in like the 70s or 80s, it would just I wouldn't. It would be something I don't even take notice of.
Mhm.
But having started with newer stuff and then going back and watching things that were older, maybe even before I was born,
Mhm.
um, I'm kind of charmed by that.
Yep.
Like, oh, they did that thing again where the character just slides into focus.
Yeah, that look old school. All right.
I like it. I mean,
Yep.
it depends on how it's implemented, of course, and whether I like the character who's
Yep.
who's doing the sliding into frame. If I think that character sucks, then I'm not going to be, impressed by that or think that it's neat. But I like the characters in Sailor Moon. I liked the first season a lot when I watched it. I prefer Maho Shoujo in general to Shonen, I think.
Right, right.
There is some
I would
Shonen
say
works
that
that I
I'm the
really
same.
do like,
Yep.
but I prefer Sailor Moon to Dragon Ball, for example.
Yep. I would say that I feel the same as well.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yep. That's all I
All
got to
right.
say about that.
Yeah. All right. I Let's get to the ranking then. I put it fourth out of
So
10.
did I.
All right. All right. I think we get the same opinion on the last two then, based on like what's left. The next
Yep.
one gonna be Shonen Junai Gumi,
Right.
Shonen Pull Up Gang. So
Yeah.
this supposed to be like a prequel of GTO, right?
Uh huh.
Right.
Yeah. Eikichi is the main character of GTO, and he's the main character here. He's one of the two main characters.
Yep. All
Um,
right.
Ryuji being the other one, and it's all about trying to score with girls and
Fighting.
beating up bad guys.
Yep. All right. Remember when I told you just 15 minutes ago about like some of the aspect of 1994 I found to be problematic.
Like
This
Marmalade
one
Boy.
is
Yeah.
yeah, Marmalade Boy. This one is have a ton of that. This one just oh my God, this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It it touched on so same many issue that I found a bit iffy, like watching it in the present time. Like they almost try to depict the relationship between teacher and high schoolers.
Yeah. I mean, at
Uh,
that point, you don't know that the girls are teachers, and you don't know. I mean, well, you as the audience don't know that those two girls are teachers.
yep,
But in
yep,
terms of what the characters know about each other, they're all lying about their ages, and
yep.
their schooling and stuff like that. So I guess the teachers are pretending to be younger than they are,
Yeah. Much
and the
younger than
guys are
they are.
pretending to be older.
Yep.
Um,
And
and I mean, you have to imagine that hundreds of thousands of people do that every single day,
yep,
in an attempt to impress somebody that they're interested in, or just to get in somebody's pants.
yep.
So I mean, art reflects life, I guess.
All right. Homophobic,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
uh,
There's a
sexist.
lot of anime that's. I mean, yeah. There's a lot of homophobic anime out there, man.
Right, and it's a whole lot of stuff, and it doesn't even look great,
No, it
especially
doesn't.
the version that I watched, which is like the VHS strip.
Right. It's like pixelated to hell and back.
Yep, yep,
Um, the production of it is, I find, consistent with the style of delinquent anime. Like, it looks very much like, I don't know,
GTO.
Kyo Kara Orewa,
Yep.
for example. That's like another delinquent OVA. They kind of have a similar style.
Hmm.
It's kind of rough looking. Um, the brawls are all, they just cut to like still images of a character punching the other one, and then they kind of zoom out while tilting the camera. Um, it's just not really, not a lot of flashy action to it. It's more about like the impact that everything has.
Yep. Yep.
Not a lot of graceful movement. And I mean, you were talking about how in a show like Sailor Moon, the characters, the animation shortcuts are like part of a style.
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
would say in general, when anime does that, it's part of the visual language that anime has developed, but it's not like, oh, you know what would be really great is if a character just like slid into frame. That no director is thinking, oh, that would just be awesome. It's just a shortcut, and everybody
Yep.
uses it because that's how things turned out, and because good old Tezuka and Astro
Yep.
Boy set the floor really low
Yep.
back in the
Yep.
early '60s. When it comes to delinquent anime, they have their own visual language, and that language is everything just looks really rough, um,
Yep.
and there's a lot of exaggerated expressions, facial expressions, and like poses and stuff like that. So I just thought GTO is, it's or not GTO, but Shounan Junai Gumi. It's like par for the course. It's basically what I expected.
Right. Yep. You talk about the impact. I can see that in some of the scenes where they cut corner, like just show you the punch.
Yeah.
But some of the sequences where like the other just step on them, I don't really see any impact at all. I don't see the force coming from the legs
Oh yeah, that's normal.
to the body.
That's
Is it
normal.
double? No, thank you. Oh my,
I mean,
all
there have
right.
been tons, and dude, I've seen like the first episode or two of a lot of delinquent series,
Yep.
half of which I've forgotten the names of, and there's a lot of scenes where people get the crap kicked out of them after they fight the boss of the gang, and then they lose at least temporarily, and then they're down on the floor, and he's like, beat that guy up, and then
Yeah.
everyone goes over and kicks him, and the you know it's not one of the animators' priorities that all of their little kicks on their like faces and their bodies and stuff are like really you know well drawn.
All right. Oh God. So yes. All right. So story-wise, I don't really found any of these of this to be appealing. Character-wise, I actually like feel a bit for the two main characters trying to fit in, but like most of the time they're trying to fit in order to like score girls.
Oh yeah,
And the fact that they actually try to uh, they send a letter of threat to the teachers and trying to sleep with them,
yeah. They try to blackmail them for
blackmails.
sex.
Oh
Yes.
my God, that's just that just poor taste for me.
Yeah, I mean it's terrible. Um, but when I watch this sort of stuff, it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know, like racism and sexism and stuff,
Yeah.
homophobia in old anime for some reason just like amuses me. I mean, it shouldn't be amusing, but
Yeah.
it is.
All right.
Uh, yeah, and the what's particularly funny is like there's the scene where Ryuji doesn't go into the hotel room,
Yep.
even though like he was attracted to Ayamu from the start. Ayamu being the teacher with the blue hair and the glasses.
Yep.
And so he's leaving the hotel and he encounters her kind of at the gate,
Yep.
and she's like, "Wait a minute, so you didn't go into the hotel room even though you probably really wanted to?"
Yep.
And
Yep.
like the script is basically bending over backwards to make Ryuji look like a good person in this scenario. Because I was like, "Oh man, he really wanted to fuck, but he didn't do it. What a good guy."
Yep.
And then there's
I'm
the shot of like her like staring after him after he leaves, and like her hair blows in the wind.
Yep.
It's just it's so funny to me.
Like the ridiculousness of of the whole.
Yeah, of the whole scene. It's just so clumsily written uh, that it's amusing.
Right. I have nothing to add on more to that.
There's also there's also like boners, like the
All right.
guys
Yep.
get like huge, massive erections that
Yep.
like you can see their pants being stretched like a foot out in front of them.
Yep.
Uh, in like one particular still, where I'm not going to go into describing it any more than that. But that's what an OVA will get you, I guess. Like the freedom of the OVA format. Maybe you couldn't do that on TV, or maybe you could, dude. I don't know. There was nudity in a lot of Japanese TV anime up until I don't know the 90s, like early mid 90s, something like that.
Yep.
But so I don't know if it's only because it was an OVA that you could show the main characters with boners, but it's just like everything about this show just is so messed up, and there's like entertainment value in it for me.
All
The
right.
main character is like clownishly pursuing girls, and then but now there's a bad guy, so it's time to get serious and like protect your friends and your honor, and
Yep.
fight fair and square, and I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't even get the last act where this guy who like play dirty and he scared the shit out of one of our main guy Onizuka, and then the whole thing just happened so quickly. I don't even remember like Onizuka at one point was like having uh his um his his arms broken. The next scene we see.
Well, his arm was never actually broken. That's established during a
All
conversation
right.
between him and Ryuji, where
I didn't
Ryuji's
know that.
like,
All right.
Ryuji says to him, "You're like you've never backed down like this before."
Yep, 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 yep.
Um, uh,
All right.
and he during the course of their conversation, he like, um, damn, what's the guy's name?
The other guy, Ryuki.
Eikichi. Yeah, he's not known as
Yep.
Onizuka at this point, at least
Right.
not
Yep.
officially. Like that's his name as a member of a biker gang.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, well, my arm's broken, and Ryuji's like, oh yeah, that's the official story.
Mm, mm,
So I don't think his arm was broken.
right. Now I get it. All
Um,
right.
yeah, then he goes and fights the guy, and I mean, it's I don't know. You can see everything that happens coming a mile away. You know what? The thing that was actually most objectionable to me, obviously, everything else that we've talked about so far is like, it's bad, blah blah blah. The
Yep.
thing that I was almost the thing that I actually was most offended by this was Ina's friend being like, "Oh yeah, my friend has an STD."
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That was messed up. Like, how are you gonna come out and just tell some random guy that you just met? Oh yeah, my friend has a venereal disease.
Yep.
She's real, she's real easy. She's loose. Um,
Yeah. There's this guy who just follow her, and like she, yeah,
oh
he
yeah,
felt like,
yeah. That's when all those details come out. Is in the course of her explaining. Oh yeah, she has a really violent ex-boyfriend too. Um,
who always follow her.
right, who
So that
stalks her.
he would appear in the very next scenes.
Right. It's just messed up that you would say something about like you'd say something like that about your friend, just casually reveal
And
that information about her.
all right, you know the part of the part of this show that I love.
What?
It's the one where that the girl who like who getting bullied at the end. Uh, her violent boyfriend just like he just like tell her that now you are mine. You cannot escape. Like just all that, and then Ryuji come and no, sorry, I think Ryuji come first, yes, and she was like
Yeah.
Ryuji's, and then on Ekichi's come later, and then he said like Ekichi, I just
I want to be your woman.
yeah, yeah, that's right, and I was like, does he really talk to like Ryuji before that? Because they didn't even talk to each other before. How comes she talked to him by his first name, and like they are already like close friends.
I don't know, man.
Yep, it's just bad writing. So maybe so bad it's entertaining itself.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I didn't enjoy this episode very much. I mean, I kind of did in like a perverse sort of way, but like I'm smiling now thinking back on it, but I didn't think it was
Right.
very good.
All right. So did you put it second or did you put it ninth?
Ninth.
All right. Oh God, thank God, because the way that you were so fond of that, I thought for a second that you would put it second.
No,
I put it 10th.
I mean, it wasn't very good. The story sucks.
Yep,
It's just, them
it's up with times.
cruising around trying to pick up girls and fighting a guy who like is possessive of one of the girls that they're interested in picking up. It's just, it's the story's terrible. And I mean, it's not to say you can't write like an interesting, humorous sex comedy. Um, because there are American movies that have similar themes that I've watched and enjoyed, like Animal House, stuff like that.
Right.
But I don't know. This is just not that.
I agree.
All right.
Oh, all right. So we have the same opinion on the last one as well, which is You Are Under Address, the OVA. We all put them as second.
Right. Yeah. The TV series came after this, and it was 47 episodes.
Right.
Um, the OVA
I
is
I I doubt.
often treated as the first four episodes of a 51 episode series. Like, so they just
Right.
kind of staple this to the front. But the thing is, the OVA is so much better than the TV series. It's outrageous.
Yeah, I actually was thinking of that as well because like all the efforts were put into like the chasing and cat chasing. All the chasing are just like just man in front in this show. It's just like completely overwhelming all this all the thing. It's just all cat chases in the show.
Yeah.
If you don't have the enough budget, how can you put it off?
Yep. It is. It's all car chases, bike chases. I mean, I've seen a few. I watched the. I've seen this OVA before in its entirety, the four episodes, and then I
Yep.
watched a few episodes of the TV series, and it's like night and day. So the
Right.
car chases, motorcycle chases, whatever, uh,
Yep.
in the TV series are just like kind of boring. I mean,
Yep.
the TV series has plenty of fans. They like the characters, and the characters are pretty endearing.
Yep. I
But
agree.
it just is not. It's not even close to the same level. The This episode is nuts.
Oh,
There's like
I
half a
agree.
dozen scenes with fully animated backgrounds,
Hmm.
as they're like zooming through the streets. Sujimoto on her bike. The scenery is like speeding past.
And
Um, it's insane.
yeah, I agree. And even like the storyboard is actually pretty good because like we follow like the two different character doing like the cat and mouse chases and mm, at every single time we know what's going on. We know the direction they're gonna go. It it actually pretty precise and clear.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Um, it's just
top
really
it
it's
off,
impressive, technically
yeah,
impressive.
top it off, we have like all the characters that like that really distinctive from one another's, and they bounce each other well. Like the two men who like at first we see them very different, and then we see them as like they just complement each other very well. So man,
Right.
it just like old like style over substance, but like what a style.
I don't think it's insubstantial. I mean, it's
Well,
characters. The job is to introduce the characters.
yep,
That's the
yep,
substance of the episode
yep,
because it's the
yep, yep.
first one.
Hmm.
And it's really. I mean, I like both the main characters a lot,
Hmm.
especially Sujimoto.
Yep.
Her whole speech about why she was late for work, uh, is just so fun. Like, she's just such a whip smart, sort of easygoing character. She just makes up a story on the fly,
Yeah.
um, to
Did she really
explain
make
her.
up? Yeah, did she
I
really
well,
make it up though? I just
well, I don't know. It's not like we see her morning routine. We
right.
kind of do a little bit before she heads out the door, I think. But I mean, we don't see her doing all that. Like her neighbor bringing over some food and her having to like properly prepare it before she refrigerates it, or
Yep.
whatever she was talking about. We don't. It's not like we see all that. I think you
Yep.
can probably infer that she was lying, like she was
Yep.
making up a bunch of it. Um,
All
and the
right.
ease with which she tells that story, whether she's lying or not, is just pretty charming.
Yep.
And the show tries to engineer a sort of personality clash between her and Kobayakawa,
Yep.
but I feel as though their personalities are actually somewhat similar. Like, they're both sort of fun-loving characters. It's just that
Yep.
Kobayakawa is far
They.
more focused. Like, she focuses her energy into her hobby. Like, she's a mechanic,
Yep.
um, and she's a little bit more dedicated to her job. But that's just a consequence of the fact that she's been on the force for a year.
Mhm,
whereas
mhm.
Sujimoto is brand new and a little bit more
Right.
easygoing.
Yep. Yeah.
So the conflict between the two of them, like I wasn't completely feeling the fact that they would butt heads
No.
because I feel like they're kind of similar.
Yep.
Um, but the show quickly arrives to that conclusion as well. You know, because they get along really well during that riverbank scene where she throws the coin.
Yep. Oh my God,
Um,
that scene was priceless as well.
yeah.
The
And
scene at the end.
did you watch through to the end and you get to see whether the coin is heads or tails?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I figured because that was after the ED.
Right, and it
So,
doesn't matter either way, right? They,
yeah, that's the point is that it doesn't matter because she throws it into the river, but you get to see whether it was heads or tails
all
um,
right,
afterwards.
I gotta go back to it.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is like a whole lot of fun. If the rest of the OVA gonna be like that, it just like it just one fun after the next.
yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
good. All four episodes are good.
yeah, and I just think that like we recently just have like another show about two female officers like that as well,
Yeah.
and I just think that like it's cannot be this good, and
Well, yeah.
like
It
it's clearly
looks
inspired.
like crap.
Yeah,
First of
it's
all.
clearly inspired by this.
Oh yeah. You're
So
talking about Police in a Pod. I can't even remember. It's like
yep,
Hyakozume or something. I can't exactly remember the
yeah, yeah,
Japanese title,
that one,
but
that one.
yeah, it's a You're Under Arrest rip off essentially.
Hmm. Put out on the KJCs.
Right. Well, I'm some of that probably comes in later, but I can't imagine that they'll look anything like this.
Right.
Dude, the little the priest
Yep.
being the guy who's like he's associated with the police department in some way. I can't remember whether he's like an ex-cop or an ex-street racer, something
But
along those lines.
I don't think that anyone know his true identity.
Yeah, someone does.
Right.
The
All right.
chief of police. Because
He
he
does.
says when he gets the report about the red car, he's like, "Oh, you don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
There's no that red car doesn't pose any threat."
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um, but he lets
All
his
right.
two officers like go out in pursuit of it because
Yep.
this is, and he says you always show up whenever somebody new arrives on the force. So he's involved somehow.
Yep.
I can't remember what his backstory is exactly, but he's affiliated with the police department in some way, like
Yep.
unofficially.
Yep. Yep.
And he just has a little fun with like the new recruits, like test them out.
Right.
So
Uh,
for whatever
s-
reason, that's how he gets his kicks. I don't know.
yep. Well, that's how he returned one of the girls' mental box.
Right. Because she
The
leaves it
roundabout
behind
way.
when she crashes through all the like the bushes and stuff.
Yep. So cool. Like, oh my God, this show is so cool.
Yep. It's fun.
Yep.
Um, and all the like, I'm sure that for like mechanical otaku, like for people who are obsessed with cars and bikes and stuff,
Hmm.
they love this series because Kobayakawa is like, oh yeah, I souped up your bike and gave it such and such an engine with this many horsepower, and oh yeah, in my car too, I installed a custom nitro system and blah blah blah. Like,
Yep.
they, it's all about just being as like rad as possible. Um, so I really don't have any interest in cars or bikes or anything like that, but for the people who do, uh, this series is probably a real treat.
Yep.
I mean, anime in general used to be more geared towards those sorts of people. Like mecha was really big, and there were characters like Kobayakawa who themselves were kind of like, um, I don't know, otaku for that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Um, you get less of that these days.
Yep. There
There's
is
like
a
not as
movie.
many anime that require like mechanical designers. and stuff.
Right.
What a shame.
Yeah, because they are less mecha for now, and
Well, yeah, there's fewer giant
they're
robots, but
CG as
there's
well.
yeah, CG too. Well, you still need a mechanical designer even if stuff isn't CG. I mean, um, but there's just less of a you know less of a
Yep.
focus on it. There's way more like I don't know fantasy anime and like slice of life type stuff in
Yep.
particular. Um, there's
All
less stuff
right.
where it's like I don't know mechanic driven.
Yep. All right. One last question on that show before we move on. There is a movie after that as well. So is that gonna be the sequel, or that movie is the lean version of the show?
No idea. I have no idea.
Right.
I've only seen like the first 4 episodes being the OVA, and then a few more episodes of the actual TV series proper. I haven't
Yep.
seen any of the sequels. I don't know anything about the films. There was like
Right.
a reboot or in 2011 or something. Maybe it was just a special, like a one-off
Mhm.
special.
Right.
But you're under arrest is a really popular franchise in Japan.
Yep. Alrighty. S- So yep.
So we both
W-
enjoyed this one. We gave our grade for it already, and that's the
Yep.
last one, right, in this list.
That's the last one. I would say that I enjoyed the top five. The top five that I don't mind, like spending more time with. And 1994 is kind of maybe like it's not uh that important of a year compared to 1995 or 1998 of anime, but we still have something to look out for. So we be back next week for more triple cross anime. So we will pick the three movies.
You mean Triple Cross Cinema? And no, we
Oh,
won't be
sorry.
back.
Yep, yep.
That's
Triple
gonna be on
cross cinema.
another channel.
That's right.
We'll be back, but you won't see us unless you catch us over there.
Yep. So we back for the next month for
Wrap
for
up the
the.
spring season.
That's right. All right.
Yeah, in about a month. So we'll see you then.
Yep. All right. See ya.
Bye bye.